Raul, we have new safety ratings out for more than 20 models. And this is sort of our last big group release that we are doing for 2024. 19 of these models earn one of our 2 safety awards for 2024. Really appreciate you spending some time with us today. We're going to talk through these new ratings and focus on a couple of these vehicles that we've been getting a lot of questions about. So first off, why don't you just tell us who you are and what you do around here?
My name is Raul Arbeliz. I'm Vice President for the Vehicle Research Center here, and I work with the engineers and the test team that pulls off all of our crash testing.
All right, so before we jump into the new ratings, we, every winter, usually late winter, early spring, we put out a big group of top safety pick awards, and then we continue to post awards throughout the year as more models get tested. Is that right?
That's right. Yeah. So usually in the first quarter of each year, we push up our criteria for the Top Safety Pick Award, and we do a big release of the first batch of vehicles that earn that rating. Now, for vehicle manufacturers and models that don't earn it in that first go-around, the good news is that they have throughout most of the rest of the year to be able to earn that award. And so we continued to do that this year, and as we expected, more and more vehicles continued to improve and earn that Top Safety Pick Award.
All right, and so we've got new ratings out, 19 new award winners. That includes 10 Top Safety Pick Plus award winners, as well as 9 Top Safety Picks.
Right.
We've also got 2 models that don't earn awards, and we are going to talk about them here in a little while.
Right.
But really quickly, before we jump in, what does it take in 2024 to earn a Top Safety Pick award?
So the short answer is you've got to have great performance in crash tests and crash avoidance tests. So for our front crash testing, you have to do well in our small overlap test, which is a test on the driver's side and passenger side in our side crash. And for the Top Safety Pick Award, you also need to perform well in our original front moderate overlap crash. To get the Top Safety Pick Plus Award, you have to go to the next, the more advanced version of that test, in which we have a rear occupant in that test. And so you have to earn a good or acceptable rating in that test. Plus, you have to have good or acceptable rated headlights, plus have good performance in a crash avoidance test.
That's right. And that new test you mentioned a moment ago with the rear-seated occupant, we're going to be talking about a couple of those results today, because that is the test that separates the TSP from the TSP Plus.
Correct.
This year. And by the way, at the end of our discussion here, we're going to talk a little bit about what's happening with Top Safety Pick into the next year as well, since, like you said, we do update that as we go. So, and of course, if people want to learn more about any of the things we're talking about today, they can do so at iihs.org. Check safety ratings for a variety of vehicles there. So let's jump in. The first vehicle that I want to talk to you about is actually sitting right here behind us. This is one that I think we've been getting a lot of questions about. It's perhaps second only to a certain electric pickup truck that we've yet to test. But this is the 2025 Subaru Forester.
Right.
So let's talk through the results. Spoiler alert, this is a Top Safety Pick Plus, but tell us how it did.
Yeah, so let's first talk about how the predecessor performed. The 2024 model earned a marginal rating in the newer moderate overlap test. The good news is for the 2025 model, we have that newer front crash test rating improving to acceptable overall, which means the doors have opened to it, getting a Top Safety Pick Plus, which is our top award right now.
Right, and for 2024, a acceptable or good rating, those are both good enough to get that Top Safety Pick Plus award.
That's right.
When combined with those other ratings. So tell me that you mentioned an acceptable, so not a flawless score in the updated test. Can you walk us through how the Forester did in that test?
That's right. In this test, this vehicle had good structure overall. The measures that we recorded on the driver dummy looked good. For the rear dummy, we recorded slightly elevated measures for chest injury. It received a marginal chest injury rating. So again, not flawless, but good enough to earn an acceptable rating.
All right, we're always glad to see that improvement.
Yeah.
The next model I want to talk about is also one where we saw some improvement. This is also a pretty popular model, which is the Toyota Tundra Crew Cab. So again, we're going to focus on that new test. We know that the Tundra has done well in a variety of safety tests, but let's talk about that updated moderate overlap test. Also an improvement over last year's model, right?
That's right. And this Tundra did not receive a full redesign, right? Toyota saw their 2024 model received a poor rating, and they wanted to make some changes, and they made them really quickly, which is always promising, and great to see a manufacturer making changes to quickly improve things. In the first go around, there were injuries to the driver dummy's leg, but more concerning, the rear occupant. We saw some things that we didn't want to see, and so overall, that vehicle received a poor overall rating.
Right, and that applies to the 2023 and 2024 model Tundra Crew Cab.
Yep, and so with this updated rating, the 2025 model earns a good rating, and that's exactly what we want to see: a quick turnaround, manufacturers improving, and doing what they can to earn the top ratings.
Now, in that updated test, interestingly, the only downgrade I'm seeing is actually to the driver dummy, a marginal downgrade there for the leg and the foot for that driver dummy.
That's right, and it's this is still even though we've been conducting this test for 30 years, it's a severe test, and you do have intrusion into the toe pan and a lot of forward movement of the lower extremities, and so in some cases you can get some of those higher loads, and that is always concerning to see. But overall, they did what they had to do to get a good overall rating.
All right. Yeah, absolutely. So the 2025 Tundra Crew Cab, among those new vehicles that we are awarding the top safety pick plus to. I wanted to shift gears a little bit. There were two vehicles in this group that did not earn awards, new ratings that are out that did not result in awards. The first is the Cadillac Lyriq. Can you tell us where the Lyriq came up short in our testing?
Yeah, so overall, it came up short in our headlight evaluation, which is really disappointing because we've been conducting these tests on vehicles on our outdoor track, assessing how well a headlight can illuminate the road for a driver so that you can avoid crashes in the first place. And for the most part, vehicles are performing really well when manufacturer focuses on that being a priority.
So there's two components. We're looking at visibility. We're also looking at glare to other drivers because it would be really easy just to have a vehicle that's just blasting light down the road. But we have to put that light in the right spot.
So we are encouraging not only brighter headlights that throw light in the right spot, but we want them to not glare and make things more dangerous for other drivers. That is where they came up short, and I would think this is something that General Motors could change quickly for this Cadillac, but we'll see. And when they do, they can earn that top safety pick award.
Yeah, it's a good point because that's the only thing preventing it from getting an award. It actually performed quite well in various crash tests, including this updated moderate overlap crash test that we've been talking about, right?
That's right, and that is really the newest and what we think is the most challenging test. And so for them to fall short on a headlight evaluation is disappointing.
Yeah, and we'll hopefully we will see Cadillac step up and adjust that and hopefully earn that award next year. But that remains to be seen. The other vehicle that we have new rating out for that also came up short is the Ford Bronco Sport. So this was an instance where we have most of the ratings for this vehicle. We wanted to fill in a couple ratings, so we evaluated it in the updated side crash test. Before we jump into its result, can you just remind us what that test is all about?
So our side crash test evaluation was updated a few years ago. We had made some progress with our original side crash, which represents a pickup truck or SUV striking the side of another vehicle in a T-bone type crash. And what we wanted to do is push things a little bit further. So we made that test a little more challenging. We increased the mass of the striking vehicle, changed the barrier shape a little bit to make it more representative of a pickup truck or SUV, and we increased our impact velocity. Many new vehicles today are performing well in this test, and it's been a requirement to earn a top safety pick award. And so we expect most new vehicles to earn a good rating. It was disappointing to see this Bronco Sport fall short here.
And where were the specific downgrades we saw?
So for this vehicle, the driver, we had some elevated measures on the driver's torso. So likely, things like rib fractures, internal organ injuries, elevated risk of pelvic fracture. Pelvic fracture is certainly a concern in side crash because although it might not be an injury with high threat to life, it could be. In most cases, it's an injury that could lead to long-term impairment and disability. So it's one that we are certainly concerned with. Same goes for the rear passenger. The rear dummy also had elevated chest and abdominal torso injury measures, as well as pelvic forces. So again, both the front and rear dummies could improve. The head injury numbers were good. That means the side curtain airbag was doing its job, but we could do a better job in that vehicle in protecting the chest and the pelvis.
Absolutely, and hopefully we'll see Ford respond to that result when they go to redesign that vehicle. But there's some good news for Ford actually in this release. A couple different models, including the Ford Mustang Mach-E, earning a Top Safety Pick Plus award. We've also got the F-150 Crew Cab and Extended Cab variants, both qualifying for the Top Safety Pick. So really good to see some models from Ford there.
That's fantastic seeing them get those awards.
And if you want to check out and learn more about all the different vehicles that have earned either a Top Safety Pick or Top Safety Pick Plus award recently from IHS, you can head over to iihs.org. Now, before we sign off, I did want to talk a little bit more about the Top Safety Pick award. This is it for the 2024 Top Safety Pick.
This is it. So we're closing the door on awards. A blackout period where we will continue testing right up until a few weeks before we release the results for the 2025 award. And so we're going to be busy for the next few months here.
And that brings the total 2024 award count to 48 Top Safety Pick Plus winners, as well as 56 regular Top Safety Pick winners.
That's right.
So anyone that is looking for a safe vehicle right now, there are some really great options.
Yeah, that's right. And you're not limited to just some of the vehicle classes that we talked about. There are Top Safety Picks just across the board, right? Smaller cars all the way up to large trucks.
And some electric vehicles as well in the mix. We've got some plug-in hybrids, including in this particular race, the Volvo XC90.
And we have a few Mazda CX-70 PHEV and a few others across the board that either are currently new or have been Top Safety Picks.
So looking forward to 2025, you mentioned we're going to put out new ratings. You mentioned that we'd be putting out first awards for the 2025 Top Safety Pick Award in the spring. Can you kind of give us a hint at what's coming in terms of changing the award criteria? Because that's something we do pretty much every year.
Yeah, so every year or every other year, what we try to do is take what we know about what's important in vehicle safety, whether it be a new crashworthiness test, or crash avoidance test or headlight ratings. We've done this for many years, and push things a little bit further and make sure that Top Safety Pick award really represents the safest vehicles people can buy that particular year. So for next year, we're taking that updated moderate overlap crash test, the frontal crash test, and instead of it being just a requirement for the Top Safety Pick Plus award, for 2025, if you earn an acceptable rating, that is what's required for the Top Safety Pick award. And if you get a good rating, you can earn the Top Safety Pick Plus.
So something that perhaps you're not saying is that the original moderate overlap test, which we've been running here at our facility since the mid-90s.
That's right.
The first test that we really launched, it's done.
Right. That test is done. The overall test configuration remains the same. We will still conduct a frontal crash with a 40% overlap. We'll still have the same driver dummy, but the overall rating criteria, which now includes the rear dummy, that is going to be the new test, and the old ratings with just the driver will go away.
What about a hint of what's to come beyond that in 2026? Have we determined potential changes for the award beyond that?
Yeah, so we're looking at quite a number of things over the next few years. For 2026, we will probably update the test to include a more challenging front crash prevention test.
Yeah, and this is one that we've released some ratings for already. We've got actually another batch of ratings coming soon as well.
That's right, and we always have ongoing research to explore different avenues. And so even what we do in 2026, it's not going to be stagnant. We're always looking for new challenging scenarios. And further out into the future, we are conducting some research, looking into bringing back an updated version of our rear impact whiplash evaluation test program.
All right, so looking into next year, vehicles that don't perform in this new updated moderate overlap test, unfortunately, will not make either award. So be interesting to see how the numbers shake out when we put out the first release, probably in March of next year. So be on the lookout for that.
Right.
So I wanted to thank you very much, Raul, for your time today. If you're interested in learning more about any of the safety ratings we've talked about, head over to iihs.org. You can also check out a whole bunch of different topic areas related to highway safety to learn more about some of the research we do. And as always, please follow, subscribe, and like so you don't miss our content. We are always putting out the newest safety ratings here on social media first, so check it out there. Raul, thank you again.
You're welcome. Glad to be here.